Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. What I'd love to do today on this absolutely glorious Sydney spring morning is to go through a book, and the book that I've selected for this morning's episode is entitled What I Wish I Knew When I Was 20, a book that was published on the 14th of April 2009 by an author who goes by the name of Tina Seelig. Like all of us, when we turned 20, we thought adulthood meant picking the right path and sticking to it for our entire lives. This author, Tina Seelig, would have smiled and gently said, "There is no," I repeat, there is no single right path, and that's the absolute fun of it. A Stanford professor who has spent decades teaching innovation and entrepreneurship, Seelig writes, like the mentor you wish you'd had at every big crossroad in your life. Her book isn't a list of motivational slogans. It's a field guide for building a life that's creative, resilient, and unmistakably your absolute own. So let's step through this book, see what we can learn, see what we can take, and see what we can incorporate into our own inventory of skills, knowledge, wisdom, and potential power. So the first key message to come from this author is where we look at constraints and describe them and see them as being a superpower. This author, Seelig, shares stories of students who turned $5 into thriving businesses in just 2 hours. Their success came from embracing limits as their fuel for creativity. And the takeaway from this message, from this point, is to stop waiting for perfect conditions and just to start where you currently are. Because when you have constraints, what it does fuel is creativity, innovation, and drive, and get you thinking about how you can do it with the limits that you currently have. Another powerful message to come from this book is where the author reminds us that you don't need permission and you don't need to wait for permission. She points out that opportunities rarely arrive with a formal invitation. Nobody's going to come and tap you on the shoulder to tell you that this opportunity is for you. whether it's pitching an idea or launching a side project. Act first and refine as you go. Initiative is more valuable than credentials. So the simple message, the single takeaway from this point is not to wait for perfection, not to wait for when the conditions are perfect. You need to grab every opportunity that passes by you with your 10 fingers, your 2 hands, and hug them as close to you as possible with your 2 arms. Another point to come from this book is where we look at failure as being data, not defeat. Each misstep, according to this author, is a valuable prototype for the next attempt. Seelig reframes failure as essential feedback, encouraging you to fail fast wherever you can, and to learn fast, and to keep iterating and moving, and not to sit back and just dwell on what's going wrong, but to focus on what's going right, and to keep on adjusting the sails and keep on focusing on what you need to do next in order to get on course and to continue to make progress. The next point that the author talks about in this book is the importance of rethinking risk. Risk isn't about recklessness. It's about calculated experiments. And what the author here is reminding us to do is to ask ourselves a simple but powerful question. What's the worst that could happen? And what are the chances of that worst outcome coming to fruition? And you often discover the downside is far smaller than what you fear. One of the biggest challenges that people face is that they are held back by FUD, fear, uncertainty and doubt. And much of that FUD is irrational. They're based on irrational fears that will hardly ever come to fruition. And yet, in people's minds, this FUD, this fear, uncertainty and doubt is what's holding them back from acting and from progressing. So the key message from this book is to rethink risk and to understand that the things that we fear are not necessarily as bad or as dangerous as what we create in our minds. The next message to come from this book is where we look at expanding our possibility engines. We need to surround ourselves with people who constantly challenge assumptions and widen our view of what's possible. And it's through diverse networks that we can help create the collisions where fresh ideas are sparked and brought to reality. And the last point to come from this book is where the author talks about writing our own job description. Instead of hunting for the perfect position, design roles around what your strengths are, and passions, even if these passions or strengths or positions don't exist yet. Because what we need to know in a world that is rapidly changing, growing and evolving, careers are crafted and not handed out. We need to be fueled by generosity, because when it's all said and done, a generous spirit is a spirit that fuels innovation and drive, sharing ideas, sharing credit, and sharing one's connections creates a culture where everybody wins. The more you give, the more opportunities will flow back. It's just natural. So Seelig's blend of real-world experiments, student stories, and hard-won wisdom makes this book, What I Wish I Knew When I Was 20, feel like a portable masterclass in possibility. Whether you're 20, 40 or 60, her message is the same and absolutely timeless. Life isn't a linear ladder, it's an open canvas. And the most important lesson of all is that you are the one that holds the brush. Take care, everybody. Wishing you all the best on this beautiful, most beautiful Sydney spring day down here at Meadowbank Ferry Terminal. And I look forward to coming to you again from another place and with another message of empowerment, where we can go on a journey of learning and discovery together, and hopefully capture some OPE, other people's experience, in the form of books, book summaries, and life lessons that we can use to live a better life. Take care, wishing you all the best, and bye for now.